Hello and welcome to Beatrix Potter Part 2, or deux in French. Have you remembered how to count to 20 in French? Let's start by doing that first because we would have been reviewing that over and over again. So say it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Bon. C'est magnifique. Okay, back to England, where Beatrix Potter is from. So I hope that you got to see the tale of Tom Kitten and Jemima Puddle Duck. Those were the other two movies that I wanted you to watch. And these are the little books that Beatrix Potter wrote about. So these books, the movie, follows the story of Tom Kitten. And Tom Kitten's was really cute because who dresses their kitties up like that? But I think you probably noticed that Tom Kitten is a bit stout. Remember, the word stout is a nice word for fat. When his mom put his suit on him, his button popped off because he was stout. My kitten Pip is stout. He's quite big. So I have these little figurines that a teacher who used to work here called Miss Jeannie, maybe some of your older siblings, if they were here, may have had her as a teacher. She donated all these cute little Jemima Beatrix Potter figurines. And this is Tom Kitten in his jacket with the buttons popping off. You will remember he had a cute little hat, like a little sailor's hat on it too. And then his sisters, oh look, you can even see the rip in the side. His sisters, oh, what were their names? Moppet and, oh, if I remember, it's Moppet and something else. They decide to climb the wall. They throw their pinafores behind them like capes and jump up on the wall. And who should come along but the Puddle Ducks. The Puddle Ducks are the family of ducks at Hilltop Farm. And the one that we talk about the most is Jemima. Jemima Puddle Duck. If you noticed in the beginning of the film, it's the real part with the, well, not the real, someone playing Beatrix Potter. When she comes through her gate to go to her door, she goes, "Get out of my way, Jemima. I should like to, you might like the rain, but I should like to get to my door, if you please." And at that time, she does not. She's not wearing her little shawl and her bonnet. She does put on some of the clothes from the kittens, and she walks off with her brother Drake and her sister Rebecca. That is the tale of Jemima Puddle Duck. So you start with Tom Kitten, and then it goes to the tale of Jemima Puddle Duck. Oh, I also wanted to show you Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit. That is Tom and Moppet and Mittens. Moppet and Mittens' mommy, and she is very anxious. Isn't she? Miss Twitchit was always nervous. And you're going to see Mrs. Twitchit, Tabitha Twitchit, and Tom and Moppet and Mittens later on in another film called The Tale of the Roly-Poly Pudding with Mr. Samuel Whiskers. I have to make a correction too. Yesterday, or in the last video, I said he was a mouse. Samuel Whiskers is not a mouse. He is a very stout, again, stout like Tom Kitten and Samuel Whiskers are both stout, rat. He's a rat. And when you watch the next two videos, and actually if you watched Jemima Puddle Duck, or if you haven't watched it yet, if you watch it, when Mr. Todd the Fox comes into Jemima Puddle Duck, because after we leave the Twitchit kittens, we have a story about Jemima Puddle Duck wanting to hatch her own eggs. So she flies off to go hatch them in the woods. Well, she runs into a very what did she call him? A very elegant gentleman. Mr. Todd the Fox is a dandy. Remember that Claude Monet was called a dandy because he dressed fancy? Mr. Todd the Fox is a dandy, and he has a very smarmy, that's kind of snooty way of talking. Oh, my dear. Oh, and then when she talks about her eggs, he goes, he licks his lips. Why do you think he licked his lips when she was talking about her eggs? Because maybe a fox would want to eat the eggs and maybe even eat the duck that laid the eggs. Yeah. Don't trust Mr. Todd the Fox. He's not to be trusted. But, yeah, so later on, the music with him is very part of his character. It's got some great music. And then when you have Samuel Whiskers and his wife Anna Maria in Roly Poly Pudding, you will hear her say, or when it's him running to get stuff in the kitchen, it's very slow music. But his wife, Anna Maria, who I don't have a picture of, but Anna Maria, or I don't have a figurine, Anna Maria, let me see if I can find a picture in the book of The Tale of Samuel Whiskers. Here is Anna Maria. Anna Maria is a very skinny, tall rat. She kind of is like Mr. Todd the Fox. When she's running around the house, the music is, but when Samuel Whiskers walks around the house, it's kind of da 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 da. So it kind of accentuates the kind of animal or the kind of person they are. He is very lazy. She is running around all the time. That is The Tale of Samuel Whiskers and Roly Poly Pudding. So we'll be watching that. Of course, you saw The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I have Peter. Look, it's the same as the book. Peter Rabbit. Remember, you say it Peter. This is before he lost his little slippers and his coat. And then his sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. They were the good little bunnies, right? Now, the last two I want to show you, I have one of the figurines. I don't have The Tale of Mr. Jeremy Fisher. He is I believe he is a toad. I want to say a frog, but I do believe Mr. Jeremy Fisher is a toad. And yeah, I think he's a toad. Anyway, a lot of people love Mr. Jeremy Fisher. He's very prim and proper, and he's very excitable. And when you see The Tale of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, you will meet Mr. Jeremy Fisher when Lucy goes running through the forest looking for her pinafores. She finally runs into Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's house. She finds a little door, and she goes in the doorway into Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's house. Now, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle is a hedgehog, and hedgehogs, if you don't know, have spines. See, there is Lucy. She's lost her pinafores and her pocket handkins. Pocket handkins are like handkerchiefs, and she's lost them out in her adventures, and she's asking everybody where they are. Well, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle is a hedgehog, and she happens to be the animal in the countryside that takes care of all the laundry and the mending of all the animals in the neighborhood. Like, she probably fixed the buttons on Peter's jacket. She probably fixed the buttons ultimately on Tom Kitten's jacket. She's always fixing things for people. And Lucy comes into her house and kind of helps her a little bit. And the funny part of it is you can't really tell. I can feel the texture of it, but she has spines that kind of prick out of her head and her dress, because that's what a hedgehog has, those spines. And when Lucy sits next to her, she sees that, and she kind of scooches away from Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, because I think she's afraid she's going to be prickled. But I love Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. She's so cute. She always goes, if you please 'em, if you please 'em. Tale of Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle. So the last two movies that I'm going to give to you to watch are going to be The Tale of Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle and The Tale of Samuel Whiskers, or the Roly-Poly Pudding. Roly-Poly Pudding is kind of funny because they try to make Tom Kitten into basically a kitten burrito. And when they're rolling the dough, Samuel Whiskers says to Anna Maria, I do not think it will be a good pudding. It smells sooty. Because Tom Kitten, when he runs into Samuel Whiskers, he has climbed into the chimney, so he does smell sooty. It's pretty fun. Okay, I want to also show you these other things. I told you to show me some things that you might have gotten as presents. These are two things that Maddie got, my daughter Maddie. One is, of course, Jemima Puddle Duck talking to the very smarmy Mr. Todd the Fox. And then here you have old Mrs. Rabbit with Peta and Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. And there's Peter climbing under the fence, and there's Peter when he jumps into the rain barrel to try to get away from Mr. McGregor. I also have this cute little bag. It's got Peta on the front, and on the back it's got Peta. And can you see that it's got his fluffy little rabbit tail? It's very cute, cute little bass flat bag. And then I would have put this out in the kitchen. There's that same picture from Maddie's plate of the bunnies getting ready to go while old Mrs. Rabbit goes to the market. Let me see if I fit. Puddle ducks are the family of ducks at Hilltop Farm. Tom Kitten is very stout. So is Samuel Whiskers. Mr. Todd the Fox. Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle. Oh, I wanted to say, remember I said that Beatrix and Bertram would draw the bones in their attic classroom? Well, that's when their animals would die up there. They would let them die, and then they'd get the bones, and they would actually draw the skeletons. They were very into what makes the whole body look like it does. So the skeleton was really important to them. The other thing is, I don't think their parents always knew how many animals they had hidden up there. And their parents would call up there and go, Beatrix, Bertram, there's quite a bit of noise going on up in your classroom. What are you doing? And they would say, nothing, Mom. We're just having a little dance. Okay, well, I happen to hear a lot of scratching and everything up there, so I hope there's nothing wrong. So I don't know if their parents knew all those animals that they had up in their attic. The other thing I wanted to mention is Beatrix Potter. If you noticed in the beginning of Jemima Puddle Duck and Tom Kitten, she is sitting outside painting. She's sitting up on a tall hill, looking down on the countryside before her and painting. Do you remember some other artists that we studied who liked to paint outside? Claude Monet and Vincent van Gogh. And I think Gustav Klimt would go out too and paint in his outer surroundings. But Beatrix Potter loved to be outside. She loved to paint and draw animals and nature and mushrooms. Remember, mushrooms was a big thing for her. And you know you can still visit Hilltop Farm. You can go to England and visit Hilltop Farm. One other correction, Miss Beatrix Potter did not raise Harrisford sheep. She raised Herdwick sheep. Correction. I just want to show you a couple pictures from this big DK, the Ultimate Peter Rabbit, Beatrix Potter book. Here is some pictures of Beatrix when she was little and her rabbit. That's her and Bertram down there, and that's her with her mom and dad, and then that's her with, I don't know who that is. Maybe it's, oh, her friend Alice. And then we have a picture of Noel. Remember, Noel is the little boy that she writes the story of Peter Rabbit to, and that's what starts the whole thing of her becoming a famous book writer and artist. And then here are some cute stuffed animals. There's old Mrs. Rabbit, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peta. And this is that's the first Peter Rabbit stuffed animal. Here is Beatrix Potter with her characters below her. She's probably about 36 at that time when she first started publishing her books. Oh, and here is a stuffed animal of Mr. McGregor. Although when I look at it, he looks an awful lot like somebody else we studied. Could it be Claude Monet? Mr. McGregor was a grumpy old man. So was Claude Monet. Here she's getting a little bit older. She introduced a little more characters. There's Jeremy Fisher and Samuel Whiskers, Tom Kitten, Jemima Puddle Duck. There are a couple other characters in there that we are learning about. Here is Mrs. Tiggywinkle. And Lucy, the character in Mrs. Tiggywinkle, this little girl, this one holding the kitty cat, is who Lucy is fashioned after. Somebody that Beatrix Potter actually knew in her life. And lastly, here is Beatrix Potter when she got older. And see all the sheep behind her? Because she was an award-winning sheep farmer. So not only was she a talented writer, a talented artist, but she was also a talented sheep farmer. So don't think that you have to stop your dreams. Don't think that you only have to do one thing. If you want to be a ballerina astronaut, then be a ballerina astronaut. You do it. You try to do what you can and be confident that you can do it. And if you fail, it's okay, because we all fail. And we all win. And Beatrix Potter's stories, a lot of them are about manners and treating people right and being nice to your mom and being kind. They're just cute little stories. Some of them get a little scary, but they're cute stories and they're perfect for little kids' hands. And yeah, I guess that's it. So tomorrow I will shoot the videos out to your parents of Roly Poly Pudding and Mrs. Tiggywinkle. So I hope you'll enjoy them. Until then, toodaloo!